Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boy, CryptoKeeper, here on a fabulous Monday afternoon. It is snowing like crazy. I've already shoveled my driveway once yesterday. There was 5 inches yesterday. We're getting some more snow today, but it's warmed up a little bit, so that's nice. Hopefully, it doesn't stick too much. At any event, we have got, it's Altcoin Monday, baby. Let's get it on. Magic Money Monday. We've got your boy, Forrest from Sistine Research. Forrest, how you doing, brother?
What's up? Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, man.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you do anything exciting this weekend.
Dude, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone like I don't even know what day it is. I just no, I mean church on Sunday. Other than that, pretty laid back. I just feel like I got a lot of work done over the weekend, but otherwise that's about it. What about you?
Church on Sunday, and I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday either. Actually, not true. I remember what I had for lunch because I literally eat the same lunch every single day because I've been like prepping meals and doing that whole thing. But yeah, no, I'm with you, brother. Not too exciting around here, getting some work done and making it happen. Crypto fam, if you're not already involved with Danger Close Alpha, this episode, as always, is sponsored by Danger Close Alpha. It's dangerclosealpha.com. Jump into the Discord, get yourself an opportunity to win 5 Ethereum. If you're not following Forrest at Sistine Research, check it out. Got a little rebranding going on. I think they've got about 30K on YouTube, and then obviously you can follow them also on Twitter. The information is down below the video. So let's dive into it. Let's see what's going on. Let's check out the markets. Smash the likes, guys. Ladies and gents, that's the way that YouTube says, hey, we like what you're doing. Let me see here. Pull it up. Maybe I'll pull it up if I have it pulled up. There it is. All right, cool. So the markets, let me update this. We're at 1.04 trillion with a T dollars. That's down 0.29%. But Bitcoin's up a little bit. We're at 22,792. We were up over 23, I don't know, maybe an hour or two ago. It was up over 23. And we're back down below that. 16.19 on ETH, down about 1%, down 0.93%. The rest, 4 through 10, pretty flat with the exception of XRP. XRP fam, put them up 6.1% at 42 cents right now. Rounding out the top 10, we've got Solana, which we're going to be talking about today, down 2.71%. Now, let me ask you this, first of all, before we dive into any alts. Macro environment, the crypto space. I had this theory. I just would love to run this by you. And actually, there was a number. I shouldn't say it like that. I heard a number of things and saw a number of things happening and kind of started piecing some things together. Then somebody made some At any event, this is a whole bunch of different things that were happening in the background. But we talked about it yesterday on Crypto Zombies interview when the FAA grounded all the flights right before the Bitcoin pump. Have you heard this little theory yet?
Yeah, I put out a thread on it like last week.
Oh, you did too? Okay. All right. Yeah. So I saw. Okay. So hold on. So let me hear it. So go ahead. You put out a Twitter thread on it. Tell me what the Twitter thread said.
Let me actually pull it up because it's way better articulated than I can just articulate on the spot.
Okay.
But
yeah. Let's see.
I'm gonna have to scroll. There it is. I got a nice little graphic here. Okay. Let me share my screen. There we are. Okay. Can you see this? All right.
Oh. Yes, but I'm going to change the layout here so I can see it better.
Sweet.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, so we got a little graphic here. Did the U.S. government buy the Bitcoin cycle bottom to pay off hackers last Wednesday? And this was written on January 17th, or like 6 days ago. So it's like 2 Wednesdays ago or whatever. All air travel was grounded by the FAA. The only other time this has happened was after 9/11. So this is kind of a big deal. And I feel like I'm not huge on like watching the mainstream news, but I feel like this was kind of swept under the rug. Like there's not a lot of time for how big of a deal this actually is to ground all air travel. So apparently a computer system offering safety information to pilots broke down. The system in question is NOTAM, Notice to Air Missions. It's a computer network run by the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, and provides real-time safety updates like weather, infrastructure, and ground conditions. The system went down, as did the emergency backup system. But where it gets weird is that on New Year's Day, the Philippines, this may actually be incorrect, but the Philippines also grounded air traffic and had like a no-fly zone for a while. I don't know if it was directly related to their NOTAM system or not, but or some other reason. But
Let me
then,
pause real quick.
yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
you've got it. You've got it. Never mind. You've got it. It's right here. I see it. Go ahead.
Yep. The Canadian NOTAM system, which is a different system than the US uses, also went down. So the theory is that there's a group of hackers that are going around hacking NOTAM systems and demanding ransoms in crypto. Basically, if the US has to ground all air travel, they have to pay whatever these hackers want. They don't have a choice. You cannot leave your NOTAM system down and ground all air travel for multiple days. It's going to absolutely wreak havoc on the airlines industry and the global economy. Yep. And then I kind of did a little chart on how these outages lined up with the Bitcoin crypto pump. Obviously, we've had another little leg up in Bitcoin since then. Yep. But the theory, and what was really interesting is last week we got that like emergency DOJ thing where they went after BitsLotto, which was like this very obscure niche exchange, and they just kind of like tried to make a big deal out of like, we're going after hackers and we're going after people that are using Bitcoin for fraud and crypto for fraud. And it was just very like random and out of place that they made such a big deal out of BitsLotto. It was almost they were trying to make an example out of it. And it seems like something that they would do in response to something like this. So I don't think it's out of the question. I'll switch back to full screen here. Yeah. I kind of think I'm leaning towards perhaps.
Dude, we talked about it, and as you start talking it through, it sounds a little wild, it sounds a little conspiratorial, whatever. But I also sounded really wild, a couple years ago and we're not going to get into this, but when I made some other suggestions that ended up being very true. And so I don't know, the pump came out of nowhere. You have to admit, you didn't hear anybody talking about a pump coming. It happened really quick. Right after that happened, why would you not do an OTC deal? Oh, wait a minute, because then you're totally outing yourself for, so like if the government was going to do an OTC deal, they're openly admitting, hey, we did this. I also heard from a couple different places that the order flow on those days was very irregular, and there was some weird activity that happened. So actually, it's fun to hear someone else be on the same page that they think that this isn't that wild of an idea, because I didn't know if if I was gonna be the only one in the crazy pool there, me and Crusader, getting after something like that. Hey, I could see it. Our government would not admit that. That's a fact. Not a chance would they admit that. And the fact that it happened in 3 different places with different systems, and they grounded air travel in all 3 of those different places, something's up, and they made no big deal about, oh, it's just a glitch from a file. Oh, really? Corrupt files all over the world within a week of each other on different systems, grounding air traffic that hasn't happened in 20 plus years. Is it?
Yeah. So. I'm of the opinion, like, I don't just like, it blows my mind and whatever. I don't want to come across as being like that guy or whatever, but the people that just will blindly believe whatever the government tells them, it's just like, come on. Like they're like the most notorious liars in history.
It's sad. And you have so much proof of over years and years and years and years of being lied to. And it's like, people either want to bury their head in the sand, or they just want to look they're either going to look the other way, bury their head in the sand, or they're just legitimately gullible and just believe anything that's tossed in front of them. Oh, my government said it. We're the government. We're here to help, So I don't know. We'll see. Hold on. We won't see. We won't know. We did get a pump from it. So we know that macro, the entire market has pumped because of that. So what everyone here is excited about is some alts. So let's start off at the top of the charts. Not with Bitcoin. We know what happened there. We just talked about that. We've had a pump. Fantastic. Everybody's been paying attention to that. Let's talk about ETH. ETH usually follows suit. I have seen it doing a little something different recently, but talk to me about what ETH's doing, and then we're going to dive into some other alts. So stick around, guys. If you didn't see the thumbnail, we got some fun alts. I think we're going to get into some Gala, Solana. What else are we going to touch on today?
We've got lined up Ethereum, Solana, Gala, and Aptos. Aptos is that super, I'm not going to say super centralized, but it's like very VC backed basically Solana 2.0, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at Ethereum, we've gotten on the 4-hour here. This is what I'm looking at. Actually, let's do that. There we go. This is what I'm looking at here. So we had our kind of our double bottom down at 1075. We had our big pump in line with Bitcoin and the rest of the market rallying. And what I believe we're doing right here is we're putting in somewhat of a topping pattern or a consolidation pattern. What we don't want to see is a head and shoulders there, and for us to come back down. But what we are seeing on the 4-hour chart, at least, is RSI, bearish divergence. Right. So this would indicate that we are coming down a little bit. Now, what's interesting is that price has been able to hold up above 1600, kind of above this key level, hold support here. So while we are getting that bearish divergence, the longer it can hold above this level and let RSI kind of re-regulate towards the 50 level or so. And then if we go to the daily, allow RSI to just, RSI got super overextended, very overextended on a massive pump like this. Again, we get the bearish divergence, but the longer it can kind of just hold this support or even hold above 1500, the more we're going to see RSI just kind of down regulate a little bit. And that's where you get continuations, where you get these periods of consolidation, bull flags, whatever you want to call them, and then you continue on upwards. Now, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see this pump try to get forced for a little third wave here, because what that'll end up forming is a bearish ascending wedge, which are very common top patterns, where if we go up for another wave, but RSI comes down to that level again, right? Or doesn't, pop all the way up. I kind of drew that a little bit wonky, but you get the idea. Basically, RSI makes the lower high, and then we make a higher high in price. Usually that's where we fall off and we get a major correction, and then RSI comes all the way down here on the 4-hour, right? And we have to go and find support around 13 or 1400. So I actually do think that this is a fairly likely scenario, and I want to be a buyer. My belief is that the bearish market structure has been broken. If we measure, we can use many different measures. We can use a downtrend line. We can use a 21-week simple moving average. Basically, on all measures, we've broken through that. But what you'll frequently see when we do break these bear market structures is we come back down to retest. So I actually don't think it's unlikely that we pop back down to test this like 1350 level or so, or 1440, 1430. We've got some interesting zones in here, but essentially where I want to be a buyer is I want to buy this as support, right? And then just keep a nice stop loss down here. If we end up falling through that support, fine. That means we're probably going back into the bear market blues. Otherwise, if we hold that, that's a very bullish sign that we're going to go back up and make a new high and test, 2000, 2100 or so, and maybe pop up into this red easy band zone. So, the couple ways this could play out, but I'm just very cautious buying here. I've already been accumulating and averaging in for a while towards some lower prices. So now that we're actually breaking out, I'm content to just let this play out and let it run. And if it does come back to a nice support level, I'll be a buyer down there, rather than trying to buy what could very, very easily be an ascending triangle, which would be bearish. So
it's a great example of being able to be patient with the charts, because so many times people want to they follow or they ape in on these green candles, and I'm sure you've probably heard the saying, buying big green candles usually end up getting screwed by them, right? You buy a big green candle, you get screwed by it. And we've had a lot of pump recently. It's like, hey, we're due, I believe, to kind of chill out a little bit. Doesn't mean we're gonna have this huge correction, and it doesn't mean that we won't pump some more, but I feel like we're due for some sort of a correction. I like the idea that you're looking at there and saying, hey, let's look for a retest, because generally, as a rule, that is what happens. We come back to check out where we were before. I like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the base case scenario. Now, I do want to highlight what Bitcoin did in its last bear market cycle. If I go out to the daily here and I look at the 2019 bear market cycle, where we ran from when we really broke the resistance and we got that first big pump upwards, Bitcoin actually did not give the correction. It did not. It just printed this bull flag. Right, that was very tricky, and just continued to run upwards. It did not come back down for its correction. Now that is not the norm. That is just Bitcoin in 2019 giving us kind of an echo bubble. People thinking the bear market was over. I do think we have a little bit more precedent for where we currently are. That this is probably too far away from the next halving cycle for us to just go absolutely crazy. So I do think it's a little more likely that we do come back down. And test on ETH and Bitcoin, and then that gives us kind of the support that we need to go higher. But what I will say about this one is, and what we can really learn from 2019 and pay attention to with Bitcoin here, is that this one did give us, and it was very subtle. You really had to be looking for it in this consolidation phase, but it did give us very strong, pronounced bullish divergence when it started heading back up here. And that would have been the trigger or the signal to get back in on this trend, to ride it up from around 5,000 all the way up to where it topped out just under 14,000. So we do want to pay attention to how Bitcoin does consolidate here and keep a lookout for bullish divergence. But right now we don't have that at all. We've got actually bearish divergence. So base case is kind of a correction of some sort. And if we get a correction and it gets bought up and then we start forming a similar pattern to last, to 2019, and then we put in, the bullish divergence or whatever, it would probably look a little more like that. We put in that bullish divergence, then, okay, we can be a little bit more confident that we're heading up without a larger correction. But don't have that signal quite yet, but that is what I'm watching.
So let me ask you something about that real quick. What's the thought process? It's 2023. The macro environment is terrible right now. I mean, overall, we've got a lot going on all over the world. Different, definitely, than 2019, the things that we've been through since 2019 all the way up until now. Bitcoin had been up and to the right, forever, exponentially effectively, right? We're not seeing that now. Why do we go back? This is just a TA question from your boy Keeper here. Why would we go back to 2019 in a totally different macro environment and look at something like that as an example?
Yeah, and to your point, I am a really big fan of not comparing cycle to cycle. I don't like doing that. However, in this case, what you get some potential for bear market rallies are often frequently like echo bubbles, where it's like it's a lot of the same money and people that were in the market here, right, before the bear market and throughout the bear market. It's just fewer of them, and everybody's saying, oh, Bitcoin's so cheap down here. You don't have a ton of new market entries, but what you do have is a bunch of people that sold up in this region, looking to redeploy down at much lower levels. And it's almost kind of the opposite of kind of taking profits. So taking profits after a big move is very natural. People are just locking in profits. But also you have a lot of Bitcoiners and a lot of crypto people that are actually looking to redeploy in a bear market. And that can oftentimes cause support to come in. You find some support. Hold on, my mouse is just completely wigging out here. Sometimes I have two dogs. Sometimes their dog hair gets stuck in the laser or whatever. And then you get just kind of an echo bubble. And that's what we saw last cycle after a big capitulation down to this kind of green easy band zone. And it's easily what we could see again. So from that standpoint, it's kind of, everyone kind of talks about a bear market rally. And I do think that we could have one despite not ideal financial conditions outside of crypto. But even if we go to the S&P 500 today, the S&P 500, I'll get rid of those, is in its own little rally. It is in its own little rally. We've actually broken the downtrend line today. And depending on how you draw it, we're just kind of poking our head out, potentially finding some support on top of it. So the next week or so of price action, especially going into February 1st rate hike decision, is going to be really interesting, because if the S&P 500 can break out here, then we potentially get a Q1 rally. And if we get a Q1 rally, that could really help feed into the crypto bear market rally that we're currently kind of seeing. So my case for the economy, of course, is still recession in 2023, but my kind of overall base case has been Q1 rally, just because normally Q1's a really good year. We were very oversold after a really terrible 2023. I'm sorry, 2022. It's very uncommon to get 2 back-to-back red years, although we know it can happen. And after a midterm election, we usually rally roughly 15%. And we had our midterm election back in November, right around there of 2022. So we would expect the market to actually rally about 15%. The S&P 500 historically, that's what it does, recession or not, regardless of macro circumstances, on average in the 6 months following a midterm election. So that would be by around April or so. We would expect, historically speaking, if the averages hold up. And again, that historical analysis goes through war, it goes through recession, it goes through famine, it goes through everything, right? And yeah, we're in bad economic circumstances, but all of that is accounted for historically in that analysis. We would expect potentially 4,500 S&P 500. That might be a little bit high for what I would expect, but I don't think it's out of the question.
That'd be a nice move, though.
It'd be a great move.
Be a great move, and it would definitely pump the markets. Hey, I just want to take a quick break real quick.
Yep.
Let me slide in here. Little Addison wants to remind everybody, get your hardware wallets. Say, I have more ETH than you do. It'll be great when she can actually say that. That'll be fantastic. She's 19 months old, and she counted to 9 yesterday. So, yeah.
Nice.
Definitely a smart logo. You saying hi? You saying hi to everybody? Get your hardware wallets. The link's down below the video. All right, yeah. So back to what you were saying. Yeah, if we get a big move like that, in the S&P, are you expecting? There's always been a lot of correlation with the crypto markets and the S&P. However, also we always try to look at the Dixie as well. I guess I want to kind of throw a little something at you before we dive into the other alts. Are you expecting dollar to get stronger, or are you expecting dollar to get weaker?
Yeah. So my base case is Q1 rally. Q1 rally, maybe some continuation here. Again, we got to see if we break down an S&P 500, but I still think we see recession in 2023. So I actually do think we do get maybe another test of these lows. I don't know if my scenario is quite as bearish as many people. Many people think we're going to get an ultimate crash. And we certainly could, but maybe we do, maybe we don't. But I still think we get recession in 2023. Now, DXY is falling hard. And what we do see is this pattern of after it rallies very hard. And this was kind of was my warning to people as we were putting in bearish divergence up here, is that when this thing falls, when DXY spikes and everybody panics and moves into the dollar, it falls very, very hard. Now, my biggest concern for the dollar is, and nobody's talking about this, Iran and Russia have come out and said that they're working on a gold-backed stablecoin to facilitate trade. That to me is like massively bearish for the dollar, because a lot of what supports the dollar is oil trade. It's the global reserve currency predominantly used to buy and sell oil. Mm-hmm. Well, if Russia and Iran, two very oil-rich countries, obviously you've got some Middle Eastern countries over there that would probably adopt it as well, and then you've got also China is fairly friendly with Russia as well, and potentially very interested in their oil. You've got a situation where now no longer do people have to use the dollar. These other countries don't want to use the U.S. dollar, where they're at the mercy of the U.S.'s printing and monetary policy. And if they switch to a gold-backed stable coin, that is not good for the dollar. So then there's a situation where commodities could run really, really high, meaning gold and oil, and potentially Bitcoin, if Bitcoin continues to be seen as a commodity.
Yeah. And we've talked about that a lot recently. The BRICS nations are actively trying to effectively shut down the dollar. I mean, they are fighting back, in just the conversations between Brazil and Russia and India and China and Saudi Arabia. And there's like a few others in there as well. Just having that full on conversation and being willing to come out in front of everybody and say, hey, listen, we don't have to use the dollar, right, is a scary proposition. And Crusader and I have talked about the amount of time at which, currencies before they actually fall. There's a lot of things that fall in line. Now, we've had some pushback from a number of people. Mainly, I want to shout out to the chat. Chat, first of all, smash the likes. We got 54 people in here. We love you guys. We appreciate you being here on a Monday. Make sure to smash that like if you're in the mobile. Just X out and do that and then come right back. But we got some pushback and said, somebody said, do you really think that the dollar or that the US is going to go away without a fight? They actively do hold massive amount of the world's debt on their balance sheet and vice versa. We've got obviously a ton of debt. We just hit the debt ceiling the other day. We are definitely in trouble. They've got options up to and including printing a $2 trillion platinum coin. I don't know if you've heard about that, but that's a whole nother thing that we can, do to continue to, facilitate moving debt around, which is how our economy works. I personally am of the thought process that the United States dollar is in trouble. And I guess I'm curious, are you of the same thinking? Like, do you see a US dollar not standing tall and being the world reserve currency for much longer? I'll tell you this, I'll put my number on it. I think by 2030, we will not be the world reserve currency. That's what I believe. I don't know. Could be wrong. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think over the next 10 to 15 years, probably maybe a little longer time frame than what you've got over 7 years,
Okay.
but it's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure, and I think it'll be. I think we're going to get into this like middle ground where it's not necessarily the dollar, but it's not necessarily like the Chinese yuan or whatever. It's not necessarily something in particular, but we'll probably see an emergence of a more diverse basket of currencies being used, probably many of which are kind of crypto backed or maybe commodity backed. Now I'll tell you what the other thing that US likes to do, and let me be clear, I'm very, very pro US, very proud of the country that I live in, but what the U.S. does have a history of doing is going into, in times of need, going into other countries that are resource rich, and starting or how
Conflict.
we phrase it, we deliver some freedom. We deliver some good old fashioned American freedom to those countries that are very happen to be very resource rich.
Yes.
So
coincidentally,
that is another
resource
play. That is another play in the United States playbook if things start getting tough for the US dollar. Just throw that out there.
It'll be super interesting to see how it plays out. And, everyone that's following on Debate Crypto and following Forrest over at Sistine Research, you follow us for different reasons. But one of the things that I hope each and every one of you knows is that we're not going to back down from a conversation just because YouTube doesn't like it, right? I am proud United States, American as well. I was in the Marine Corps, and I love the country that we live in. I'm just not happy with the state of the union, if you will. We have problems, and I'm hoping that we can find a way to get out of them. I just don't see how we're going to do it, and definitely don't see how we're going to do it with the ideas that get thrown around right now. So I'm hoping that maybe something like Bitcoin, something like a decentralized asset where people can actually opt out. I'm not too bullish on that whole idea, just because governments will not relinquish power that you've already given them, and we've given a lot of power over the years. So I don't know. Let's get into a couple alts. So one of the things that a lot of people in the crypto markets do is they like to let's be fair. We had a meeting the other day with Wen Media. Shout out to J Chains and Fully Voxed. And we were talking, and we were actually talking with Undead Blocks too. And the gentleman Grant from Undead Blocks said something I thought was really smart. He said, a lot of people in crypto, they got into crypto because they're degens. They want to gamble. They want an opportunity to make a lot of money with a little bit of money. And I think it's a fair assessment and statement to say that there's a lot of people that are like that. And altcoins provide an opportunity for that. We're not here to give you financial advice. But I think Forrest has got a couple alts that might have some opportunities for you to at least look at. So as always, do your own research. We want to toss out a couple alts that maybe have some opportunity for you, or maybe not. We're about to find out, see what at least the charts say. Forrest, which one do you want to start off with?
Sure. We can start with Solana. So now I get the arguments against Solana, but I'm from like an investment perspective, I look in what I look at what can make money, not necessarily what is the most decentralized. And I also do think that there will be a proliferation of both decentralized cryptocurrencies and more centralized solutions that maybe have less user friction. So
talk to me, and I don't mean to cut you off, but talk to me just real quick before you pull Solana on the chart. Why do you, oh yeah, no worries. Why do you like Solana? Is it tokenomics? Is it like what is it that you like with, if you're not looking at a chart, is there something that you like about Solana? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. So the thing that I like about Solana is that, yes, it has issues with the network going down. Yes, it has issues with, being more centralized than Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. But by the stats, if you run the stats, it has reached, I'm not going to say mainstream adoption, but it is accelerated against a lot of other cryptocurrencies in terms of usability and the adoption that we see with it. So this is a developerreport.com. I have no affiliations with them. I just think that it's useful information. If you look at the number of total developers, and this is data as of December 15th, 2022, so it's fairly recent. Solana has the second most developers to Ethereum working on Solana. So this tells me that developers who are generally smart people, and now keep in mind, like, some of these chains have a lot of money and they can pay for developers, but developers who are generally smart people are spending their times and their livelihoods in staking their job on being able to build on the future of the chain. So like, if you're a developer and you're a blockchain developer, you can develop on just about any chain. You could develop on ETH, you could develop on Solana, Polkadot, Cosmos, Polygon, Bitcoin, Near, Kusama. The list goes on. You can probably get a job at most of these chains in a space where developers are a hot commodity. If developers thought that Solana was going to go out of business, or Solana was going to go to zero, they probably would not be staking their livelihoods or be spending they would probably not be working on that as their job. So
that's a good point.
The fact that a lot of people, a lot of devs choose to work on Solana is a sign that not only is there some faith in it from the developer community, but also a sign of, like, stuff is being built over there. It's being used. And kind of Vitalik Buterin put it pretty well in one of his tweets that happened to come out like at the bottom of the Solana price action, was that, he said something along the lines that now that all of the bad money people are out of Solana, hopefully it can have its time to shine. And yeah, it had a very unfortunate start where a lot of VC money has been invested in Solana, and they've taken advantage of that type of price action. It's obviously been associated with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, although I mean it is this completely separate entity. So I do think in the short term here, Solana is we see this bearish divergence on basically every chart right now. So I am a little bit wary of a pullback. But if we get into another scenario where another situation where we really capitulate below these bands, or even come back to test this zone in this range here, we may have overshot. Long term, I don't dislike Solana. It's a very usable chain. It's from a UI UX perspective with like, if you're involved in NFTs, it's a very active community and very UI UX friendly. So I'm definitely not a Solana hater. I do think it'll bounce back next cycle, and we shouldn't discount the fact that, and we actually don't have data here. It went from like $1. This is kind of newer data. I forget what exchange we're on right here. But it went from like $1 to $264. I think Cardano is a really good example of what we could see out of Solana next cycle. Now, I don't know if Solana will make new highs next cycle, but what I do know is that Cardano did a massive pump in 2017 and 2018, had a terrible bleed out, very similar to Solana, right? Where people said Cardano was a scam. It was vaporware. It was down 99+%. It was never bouncing back. Lo and behold, when the bull market did come back, nothing outperformed Cardano. Cardano ran the table on every top tier cryptocurrency out there. Solana was like the only thing that outperformed Cardano, and Solana was new this cycle. Cardano crushed it. So I do think Solana could be something that next cycle may pull a Cardano. Maybe we come back to test lows. Maybe the bottom is not in. But from super low levels, given the level of activity that we see happening on Solana, I think it's worth a punt. I think it's worth, if you can pick it up at a low price, it's a decent play.
Yeah, just curious. Do you have? I know you were looking to possibly jump back in. Was there a roundabout number that kind of you were paying attention to?
Sure. So, first of all, I like to throw on the easy bands for like kind of long-term plays. This range looks very nice.
Okay.
Just coming back down to kind of this volume profile, which would be somewhere around under $16 or so. And
Okay.
then if we really get a nice little pullback here in Solana, and we throw on our long margin pressure levels from our swing low here, we get a nice even $16, and that's kind of where we saw a little bit of an impulse move from initially right around the green easy band level as well. So if we fail this level and come back to $16, I like Solana at $16. I think it's a decent play. Obviously, if you were able to pick it up below $10, then that's great.
Yeah, huge move.
But yeah, for me, I separate. Is Solana the ideal perfect cryptocurrency in terms of decentralization and network uptime? No, and I admit that. But from an investment perspective, a large portion of the market actually doesn't care about that stuff. And I do want to recognize what other market participants value, because ultimately price action is reflected by the entire market, not just my personal values of decentralization being a priority.
And one of the things that we have always talked about, Crusader and I have talked about a lot on the show, is you're talking very specifically about what other people are looking at. And I think one of the things that other people are looking at, it's a good segue into the next one, into Gala Games. I think there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, we see gaming continuing to move into the blockchain space. And I think Gala Games has taken a kind of a front seat, or a lot of people, I would say, jumped in the front seat to hopefully get a piece of the action as it relates to Gala. I saw somebody in the chat a little bit ago that said they had got a huge bag of Gala and wish that they had got more. I'm interested to see, is the gaming space going to do what everybody thinks? And if it does, how big of a run are we going to see out of Gala Games? Is this next run going to be the utility run? It's something we've been talking about a lot. And if it is, I could see gaming being a really good space to be. Again, as always, none of this is financial advice, but it's something to think about. What's the utility? Why would people want to be a part of whatever this asset is? And I do believe, there's the tens of billions of dollars spent in gaming every single year. Why not in the blockchain space too? So yeah, show me Gala Games. Let me see what we got going on there.
Sure. So first of all, let's go out to the daily and we'll throw on the easy bands. There's a reason the chart looks like this. And to my knowledge, I need to do a little bit more research on the circulating supply, but it appears to be roughly 7.5 billion out of 50 billion max supply. So that means there's pretty high inflation. I don't know what their inflation rate is. That's 15% circulating supply. To me, that is a big red flag. And what that's called having a low flow or a low circulating supply. Basically,
can you explain that to somebody that's maybe a little bit more new to crypto?
Sure. That means there's basically 7.5 billion tokens floating around on the market, in people's wallets, on exchanges and such. But there's another 42.5 billion that are basically unminted or not. They're locked, and I don't know specifically for Gala Games. That's why I'm being careful about my phrasing here. I don't know if
some of it's in a treasury, or if they're locked, or if they're staying.
Right,
you just don't know,
and
where
I don't know what the rate is for unlock. So I want to be very careful about how what kind of picture I paint here. But imagine if the entire supply of U.S. dollars that was floating around was 7.5 billion, and the Fed had another 42.5 billion locked and loaded and ready to distribute over the next 5 years. That'd be a terrible situation. That'd be a situation like we've recently seen after COVID, where they just basically doubled the money supply overnight. But this would be 5xing the money supply overnight. So that causes inflation, which devalues the underlying currency, and that's kind of why I would imagine that price has been moving down. But
makes sense.
We are pumping right now. We are moving into a zone where I would say we're overbought. We're overbought. We've gone from being oversold to overbought in the short term. We are printing some bearish divergence here, just like on most charts on the daily. However, there is a chance that this is forming, and I'll go into the 4 hour. There's a chance that this is forming, and I want to be very careful here because it's not super clear, because this could be, right? This could be a bearish ascending wedge, and this is why I don't like trading patterns unless they are very crisp and very clean, because this could be a bearish ascending wedge that we fall out of and get a correction. Alternatively, this could be a bullish pattern, right, where we're seeing a bullish ascending triangle. So it's very unclear to me exactly what this pattern looks like right now, and this could move up, this could move down, but I'd be a little bit wary buying it after it has just pumped from the bottom here 240% and change. So I think we're moving into a resistance level. You could potentially look to short this if you so choose, but I don't love jumping in front of very aggressive price action to the upside. You get liquidated pretty easily. So this one, I know it's been a heavily requested and heavily viewed coin lately, but I wish I could give a direction on this. I'm just kind of, obviously the trend is very bullish. We might have that ascending triangle, but we're also a little bit overextended, so I'd be careful. I'd just kind of wait to see which way this breaks out. And if you're looking for an entry, personally, I'd look for a retest of this green easy band zone. At minimum, we want to see support on the 21-week simple moving average before getting in, if anyone's looking to get in. And
Forrest, what do they call it?
Oh, go ahead.
Forrest, what do they call it? So let's say that was an ascending triangle or not, right? So if you draw the ascending triangle, and let's say you put in a 2 trades, and I forget what this is called. I should know what it's called. You put one trade in as a long when it touches the bottom of that wedge, right? You put one long in, and then you're putting in a short as well, and then putting a stop on both sides of it. What is that called? A straddle? Is that what that's called?
Straddle, or I'm not 100% sure, or maybe a box trade. Not 100% sure on the terminology either.
Okay.
But I think it's probably a straddle. Yeah, where basically you're kind of both longing and shorting it, and you're just playing the breakout in either direction. So obviously you're long,
you're putting a tight stop,
gets stopped out there, and then you play the short, or vice versa. Those can be that can be a great strategy. Every now and then, though, you get burned bad. Because they'll pop up, false breakout, and then rip down. So you get stopped out, and then you get stopped out.
Get stopped on both sides of it.
Yeah, that can happen. Don't ask me how I know that. Just it's because it's happened to me before.
Daddy Zach says it's a schlong. Thanks, Daddy Zach. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's definitely a schlong. Appreciate you guys always giving us the all the info there in the chat. Thank you guys. All right, cool. So on Gala, you're cautious. I mean, actively, you like the project, you like the opportunity to make some money, but you're cautious right now, and you personally would be looking for a short on Gala Games right now.
Yeah, potentially, but I'm cautious here. I'm really cautious.
Yeah.
I think this is one where I wanted to go over it because it's just so heavily requested and heavily viewed right now after this big pump. But I think there's nothing wrong with sitting on your hands here and waiting for something to manifest and waiting for a better entry if you're looking for a better entry.
Yeah, one of the best advice that I ever got about trading was to not force a trade. And so many times I have done that in my experience trading. I've tried to force something. It never works out well. So crypto fam, just listen. There's a reason that we have Forrest on the channel. There's a reason that we have some of the other TA experts on the channel. It's because they've been doing this for a long time. Just pay attention. As always, it's not financial advice, but they've got some really good experience. So, maybe you could learn something. All right. So last but definitely not least, I actually know next to nothing about Aptos. I literally have almost no information whatsoever on this project. So if you wouldn't mind, can you tell me what it is before you chart it for me?
Yeah, so think of it as basically Solana 2.0. It's another VC chain.
Okay.
That is, if we go over here to the tokenomics and we go to Aptos. So I say this is something I don't, I think it'll end up being successful, and it's already a top rank 32 cryptocurrency. But again, we've got 16% circulating supply plus tail emissions. I don't know exactly what the tail emission rate is. And then we have a fully diluted valuation of $13.2 billion. And if we go to DeFi Llama, this is going to allow us to show Aptos TVL. So the amount of money that's being stored on this chain is only $55 million. And if we go to something that's comparable to it in terms of market cap, maybe Avalanche has almost $1 billion in TVL. Arbitrum over $1 billion. Polygon has 1.18 billion. So like coins that are of this caliber have way, way, way more value locked on them. And the only thing that Aptos really has going for it is it's basically heavily backed by Silicon Valley, and it does have 248 developers as of 2022, which isn't a lot, but it's also not a little. In comparison, that's kind of top 15 or 20 in terms of devs.
Okay.
I would be very, very cautious here. I'm looking for a short. I think that this is a good shorting opportunity. Now we do have a really nice, a really big uptrend, but this just to me screams overvalued. And this, could very easily be something that falls back down to new lows. So that's why I've kind of highlighted this one as a potential for shorting. Unfortunately, this is a new coin, so we don't have easy band data yet. If we go to our long levels here.
How new is it? It looks like what? It just goes back to when? November?
This was launched back in October. There was kind of a big airdrop, and let's bring these up a notch and see where we can maybe find some resistance. Yeah, it's just been blowing through a lot of these levels. And we're finally getting some of that resistance there at $14. We want to pay attention to RSI here, see if we can get anything. Yeah, that's not super clean bearish divergence. That's a little bit better. If this gets one last push upwards, and we get another push up on RSI here that comes in and gives us like some bearish divergence or something, I think that could be a trigger for shorting this. Otherwise, I don't hate just shorting at $14. Just know that you want to kind of have a tight stop loss here if you're going to buck the trend, because the trend is upwards. But this just screams to me this is overvalued. It doesn't have a lot of TVL. It's got low circulating supply, meaning it's prone to pumping and dumping. It's VC backed, meaning they're going to be looking to unlock their tokens and dump. It doesn't have a lot built on it right now. It does have quite a few developers, but if we go back into a bearish trend in the overall market, I think this is going to fall pretty hard. So I'd be looking to potentially just build up a little short position here, maybe super low leverage. I may just look at 2x short position. And if it continues to run a little bit, that's fine. Just kind of accumulate a short position up here.
Where are you going to short an asset like Aptos? Where are you going to short that?
You could do it at Bybit. And if we go to CoinGecko here, we go to markets, perpetuals. If you have a Binance account, OKX, BTCX, or where's Bybit? Bybit's down here as well.
Like, yeah.
Okay. So there's a number of places.
Sometimes you got to go looking for it. You know what I mean? Especially on some of the smaller assets. But I was just curious. Okay. So I got and I want to start doing this. So Forrest, I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot here. I want to start doing this every Monday for sure. I'd like to just throw out one random alt today. They've been asking for it multiple times, so we're going to give it to them as long as you're cool with it. Can I put you on the spot and ask you to chart out XRP, even though we know that what needs to happen is this lawsuit needs to, be done with. I love my XRP. I want to see my bags pump too. And I do think that as you're pulling that up, I do think for all of you watching, I think XRP is going to bode well from this, from this case. Hopefully it's over soon and we'll get a nice big pump. I don't think it's as large as some people are predicting, that's for sure. But talk to me about what the charts are showing you, Forrest.
All right, so XRP has rewarded you for buying in the green zone and selling in the red, right? It's throughout its entire history, and I know we only have data back to 2018 here. Let me grab XRP USD on Bitstamp. Bitstamp will have had this pretty early on. So obviously we had the absurd run in 2017, 2018, but pretty much historically. Since then, it has paid you for accumulating in the green zones and selling in the red. And right now, we're just sitting halfway in between. We're sitting at the 21-week simple moving average. I'll expand that a little bit, and I'll go into the daily so we get a little bit more detail here. So I wouldn't necessarily be looking to buy XRP here. I think the opportunity to buy was down here at around 30 to 40 cents. Now we're currently sitting at 42. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit, there's a little bit more downside risk in the short term. If the market decides to go down, we could see 20 to 30 cents again. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that risk is definitely present. Whereas, historically XRP just doesn't like to go below these green levels. So I just don't see XRP in the short term here. I don't see much risk below 20 cents. Meaning if it does come down to 20 to 26, then that's a very obvious buy, in my opinion, for pretty safe buy. In the short term, we could see it pop up to 60 to 80 cents in the red easy band zone. It does have a history of pumping above those levels occasionally, but historically you've done well if you've trimmed a little bit there, taken some profits. And then look to reaccumulate and buy back cheaper and stack more XRP at lower levels. So right now we're just kind of in this middle ground, and just be looking to accumulate at lower levels and potentially look to trim 60 to 80 cents. I know a lot of people are hoping for a really big pump if they win this case. I don't know what the timeline is with that. I don't know what the likelihood is. I've heard a lot of good things. That it's looking like it's going to move in favor of XRP. 60 cents is going to be some resistance there, and we've kind of seen that play out recently as both support and resistance. So I'd be careful at around 60 cents. That's where our red easy band zone is. So you could potentially look to trim if you've bought down here at 30 and you can sell it at 2x for 60. Maybe you're bullish long term on XRP. Doesn't mean you have to sell everything, but hey, taking 5 or 10% off the table on the off chance that it crashes back down and you can buy back some over here. And if it runs through, you still have 80, 90, 95% of your bag for a larger pump. I think that's a common mistake that a lot of people make is I think a lot of people feel like when they take profits, they have to sell everything. When in reality, just like you DCA into the lows, you can also DCA out of the highs and not leave yourself underexposed. You can take 5 to 10% off the table, make sure you've got some cash. And I feel like a lot of people want to be all in all the time, and they want to be all in or all out and just like trade their entire bag. And I would say, take 5 to 10% at a time at these highs and lows. And then over time, you end up selling some up here and buying some back, and then selling some up here, buying back. And by the time we get to this point, you have, twice as much XRP as you did going into this market.
Yeah, that's a great point, Forrest. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of times with trading, it is you get in, how much you have in your account. You maybe have your mindset on a certain asset or basket of assets. You've got your percentages set up, and then boom, you're like, oh, here's the opportunity, and then toss it in. I've personally done this. I've also taken that advice that you were just saying that, hey, you can take some off the table, little bits, take a little bit, take a little bit, take a little bit, take a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like a savings account where if you don't look at it, you've got some extra funds in there. And so if you guys are trading, as always, use risk management. There's some really simple things. This is one of them that you can do, taking some off the table. You could use the Wendy O approach. Take a moon bag. If you've moved over 100%, take that initial off the table, leave the rest to see if, it can run. There's a lot of different strategies. But if you're actively leverage trading, what I will say is try to set stops, set some take profits, especially if you know yourself that either A, you're going to be, somebody that's incredibly greedy and want to, let emotions, to get into the trade, or if you're just not around your computer all the time. It is a difficult thing taken from someone that is out and about a lot with my different businesses. It's hard to be actively trading when you're, moving and shaking and moving and shaking. So one of the things that I like to do is set take profits and stop losses. Well, Forrest, as always, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. Dude, I appreciate all of the insight that you bring to the space. You've been doing a great job. We love having you on. Crypto fam, if you're not already following Forrest, make sure to give him a follow. His information is down below. We've got his signals as well. He was showing those easy bands. Somebody in the chat have been asking. The CryptoStacker signals are down below the stream as well. So you can check that out there. But we love you guys. We appreciate you for being here. Yeah, anything else that you want to toss out before we take off, brother?
No, that's it. I mean, it covers it. We're in just kind of a broken bear market structure. So we're just in that awkward phase of like, hey, are we going to hold this thing? Or are we going to go back into a bear market? And I think there's nothing wrong with pausing, taking a deep breath, and whether you caught the pump or you didn't catch the pump, and just waiting for this to play out a little bit. And if you missed out, look for a pullback. Otherwise, enjoy the ride upwards if we do continue to rise. So I think there's nothing wrong with kind of taking it slow here and not rushing into any decisions when the market's just kind of at such a pivotal point and could move either way.
Yeah, makes sense. We heard it here first. Pay attention, use risk management, slow down, take a breath, see what the market's doing, and go from there. So just remember, crypto fam, question everything, trust nothing. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We will see you soon.